Story from Suffolk called The Dauntless Girl. Now, dauntless actually means it's unafraid, which is a bit different, I think, from being brave. Work that one out later. The squire had invited his friends, the doctor and the sexton, for an evening of, well, perhaps they were playing cards, but certainly they were talking, and certainly they had a bottle of brandy. And somehow or other, much to their surprise, they found they had emptied the bottle of brandy. And so the doctor said, "Send Mary down to the village. Send her down to the village, down to the tavern, to get another bottle of brandy." And the sexton, now a sexton is someone who looks after the churchyard. You know, digs the graves and looks after the graves, that kind of thing. The sexton said, "Well, Mary's, you can't expect Mary to walk all the way into the village in the dark on her own." And the squire laughed and said, My Mary is a great servant. She is afraid of nothing. She'll go. Of course she'll go." So Mary went down to the village in the dark, to the tavern, bought a bottle of brandy. And the three men fell to talking about what could they do to make Mary afraid. And the squire said, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing that girl's afraid of. And the sexton said, "I have an idea. What about if she were to spend some time in the charnel house, the house in the churchyard where the bones of the long dead are laid out?" So the following week, the sexton hid in a dark corner of the charnel house because it didn't worry him too much. He was used to it. He wasn't too worried about the bones of the long dead. So that left the squire and the doctor. And they said to Mary, "Nip down to the churchyard, go in the charnel house and bring us back a skull." So Mary, well, she probably thought this was a bit of an odd thing to ask a servant to do. But our dauntless girl walked to the churchyard, opened the door to the charnel house, and in she went. And she picked up a skull. And from a dark corner came a voice saying, "Put that skull down. That skull is my wife's." So Mary put the skull down and tutted as she picked up another skull. And the voice from the corner said, "Put that skull down. That skull's my son's." So Mary sighed and tutted and picked up another skull. And the voice from the dark corner said, "Put that skull down. That skull is my own." So Mary said to the voice in the corner, "Your wife's or yours, it matters not to me. I'm going to take it." So she picked up the skull and took it back to the squire's house, leaving the sexton because she closed the door behind her, and that left the sexton having a cold, damp night among the bones of the long dead. And I don't think he ever played that trick on anyone ever again. But Mary gave the skull to the squire and the doctor, and they agreed that she was indeed a brave and dauntless girl. Now, a little while previously to where our story begins, the squire's mother had passed away, but she didn't really want to leave the house, and Mary had seen her sometimes. And there came a time when the squire had to go to London on business, and he left Mary alone in the house. And it was when she was alone in the house that the ghost of the squire's mother appeared to her. And the mother said, "Take the big iron key from the kitchen, undo the trapdoor that goes down to the cellar, and in the corner of the cellar, buried under a loose tile, you will find 2 bags of gold coins. There's one small bag, and that's for you, and there's one large bag, and that is for my son, the squire." So Mary took the big iron key from the kitchen, undid the door to the cellar, took a lantern, and went down into the dark cellar. And there in the corner was a loose tile, which she lifted. And under the loose tile was indeed 2 bags filled with gold coins. So with the bags in one hand and her lantern in the other, Mary climbed back up out of the dark cellar. And after that, whenever she sat down at the table to eat, she was always careful to cross a knife and a fork. Because, of course, as everybody knows, if you cross a knife and a fork, it stops any ghosts who are there in the house from joining you. So the squire came back from London and asked if anything had happened. And Mary said, "Well, the ghost of your mother dropped in, but I'm going to make sure she doesn't join us anymore. I'll always cross the knife and the fork. But your mother sent me down into the cellar. It was a bit dark, but I took a lantern with me. And she told me where the 2 bags of gold are buried. So here we are." And Mary showed the squire the 2 bags of gold coins. She said, "There's a small bag, and your mother said that's for you. And this large bag, your mother said that's for me." And the squire looked at the large bag of gold and thought it would be very useful for all the things that he needed to do around the estate. And then he looked at Mary and he thought, she's quite a pretty lass, really. And she's bright and she's not afraid of anything. I could do a lot worse. So the squire married Mary. And I think he put the big bag of gold to good use, doing useful things around his estate. And whenever Mary and the squire sat down to eat, she always made sure that a knife and a fork were crossed. So the ghost of the squire's mother never appeared again. And Mary never had to run errands down to the village at night. So don't be afraid. If you like more stories, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like stories from Suffolk, please do check out the Suffolk Stories Facebook group. See you soon.